A guy named Terry Richmond, a skilled cyclist, riding down the road while listening to music. Suddenly, two police officers, Officer Evan Marston and Officer Steve Lawn, stop him. Officer Lawn handcuffs Terry, saying they tried to stop him, but he didn't listen. Terry explains he couldn't hear them because of his headphones, but the officers still don't let him go. They start asking him questions, and Officer Marston searches Terry's backpack. When he finds a package, Terry refuses to let him open it. This leads to Terry's arrest, and they call for a K-9 unit. Officer Marston tells Terry it will take an hour for the K-9 unit to arrive, but in a hurry, Terry agrees to let them search the bag. The officers find a lot of money and think it might be connected to drugs. Terry says the money is for his cousin's bail and to buy a truck. Officer Steve sees it's almost $30,000 and asks why Terry's cousin is in jail. Terry explains that $10,000 is for bail and the rest is for the truck and trailer his cousin Mike needs. Mike got arrested for marijuana possession, but he wasn't selling. Even though Terry explains, the police decide to keep the money, thinking it's for drugs. Terry says he sold a car and used some of the money to buy a meal at Ken Long's Chinese restaurant. Officer Marston tells him they will hold the money for 30 days while they do paperwork, or Terry might face fraud and money laundering charges. Terry agrees reluctantly, and they let him go, but they keep his money. After being released, Terry grabs his bike and rushes to the courthouse. There, he meets Elliot, a court clerk, and asks him to post bail for his cousin. Terry tells Elliot the police took all his money. But Elliot says Terry doesn't have enough and mentions the jail is being renovated. He says all prisoners, including Mike, are being moved to state prison. Elliot leaves, making Terry more upset. Before leaving, Elliot introduces Terry to Summer McBride, another clerk and a future law student who says she will help. That night, Terry and Summer have drinks. Summer tells Terry that the police often use legal tricks to take money from people without showing where it went. Once they take it, they keep it as slush funds. Terry explains that his cousin Mike helped the police catch dangerous criminals by giving them useful information. But if Mike is sent to state prison, other inmates might harm him. Mike is scheduled to be transferred on Thursday, so Summer tells Terry to find more money to post bail quickly. They leave, and Terry calls Mr. Liu, the owner of a Chinese restaurant and his business partner, asking for $110,000. Mr. Liu agrees to send the money soon. Later that night, Terry finds out where the police officer who arrested him lives. The next morning, he goes to the police station and reports a robbery to Officer Jessica Sims, saying the robbers looked exactly like Officers Evan and Steve. Just then, Officer Steve walks in and accuses Terry of lying. Chief Sandy Burns steps in and defends the officers, telling Terry to leave. Terry suggests that Sandy keep the money the police took and only return the bail money. Sandy, driven by greed, agrees to the deal. Terry wants to see his cousin before he is transferred, so Sandy schedules the meeting for 9 a.m. on Thursday. But when Terry arrives on time, the prisoner transport bus has already left early. Sandy changed the schedule on purpose. Terry chases the bus and tells his cousin to ask for protection when he gets to prison. Afterward, Terry meets Summer at the back of the police station. She tells him she has found serious information about the police department that could lead to their arrest. Summer also says the judge is involved in Mike's case, and Terry needs to bring the bail money to Elliot's desk quickly. Terry rushes back to the police station and faces the police chief, threatening to make her do what he wants. Officer Steve steps in, and things quickly get out of control. During the struggle, Terry manages to take away both officers' guns, handcuff them with Officer Sims' cuffs, and lock them in the property room. Inside, he finds many weapons and a lot of cash. Remembering their deal, Terry only takes $10,000 for Mike's bail and leaves the rest of the money. He takes the bullets out of Officer Sims' gun and asks her to pretend to handcuff him. She then drives him to safety, making sure the guards don't notice him. As they drove, Jessica warned Terry about the police's corruption. Terry quickly returned to the courthouse, bringing the bail money to Elliot's desk. Summer went to get the judge's signature on the paperwork, but before they could finish, the police barged into the courthouse and arrested Terry. They took him to the basement for a health check, where he met Police Chief Sandy. The three of them got into a car, and as they drove, Sandy admitted everything. He said he had made a mistake getting involved with Terry after checking his background. The car stopped at a hospital, where Sandy returned the rest of the money to Terry. Sandy told Terry that if he stayed quiet and acted like nothing happened, he'd be safe. But if he didn't, Terry could face 30 years in prison for assaulting the officers. Sandy also told Terry that Mike had been attacked in prison and was being transferred to the hospital. Terry, angry and heartbroken, agreed to the deal. Before leaving, Sandy warned Terry never to return to town, or they would take care of him. When Terry went to Mike's hospital room, he found that Mike had passed away. Grieving, Terry asked Summer to drive him back to town, but they noticed a police officer following them. Summer explained that the officer was a friend from the police, watching her for personal reasons. She tried to tell Terry that there were many cases like Mike's, and the police needed to expose the truth. But Terry, frustrated, didn't want to hear it. He gave Summer's phone number in case of an emergency and said goodbye. That night, Summer woke up to find someone had broken into her house and drugged her. Panicking, she saw a police car magnet on her refrigerator and called Terry. He rushed over, broke into her house, and found Summer alive in the bathroom. She explained the drug was one she had used before because of her past addiction. She was afraid that a drug test could cause her to lose custody of her daughter. Terry reassured her and took her to his workplace. To their surprise, the judge wanted to see Summer and asked her to take a drug test, suggesting he was working with the police. Summer was scared but agreed. As she provided a urine sample, she couldn't hold back her tears. Meanwhile, Terry ran into Officer Steve, who had called other officers to stop Terry. As Terry complied, Steve suddenly shot him, wounding him. Terry fought back with a stun gun and quickly escaped by driving into the fields. He left the truck and walked back to his Chinese restaurant, where he called Summer to bring him a disposable phone. When Summer arrived, she found Terry hurt, with Mr. Liu helping him with bandages. They quickly made a plan to gather evidence of police corruption and expose it. They decided to break into the judge's house to confront him. Inside, the judge admitted he had been working with Sandy for years. Due to the police department's shrinking budget, he had been illegally funneling money through court cases. Defendants were always fighting to reclaim their rights, but never won. The money from these cases was given to the police and the state, with some going to the government's treasury. The police had cameras mounted on their patrol cars, recording all the traffic stops, and these recordings could be key evidence to expose the police's misconduct. Terry and Summer decided to steal the footage, which was stored in the courthouse basement. They broke into the courthouse and found the police trying to destroy the evidence. They started a fire, but Summer quickly put it out. They managed to grab the memory card and started another fire to cover their tracks. Terry waited outside while Summer went to collect a urine sample. Unfortunately, she got caught by the police. Terry, realizing the police were taking her, followed them to a secluded area. When they split up, Terry saw one officer left behind and took his chance. He jumped into the police car, choked the officer, and cuffed him to ask questions. Using the radio, Terry contacted Sandy, hoping to get the information he needed. Sandy made a deal with Terry, agreeing to meet in Rebel Ridge in exchange for the memory card. Sandy's men waited all night, but Terry never showed up. Meanwhile, Officer Evan thought he had found Terry's car and called Sandy. Terry told Sandy there was no turning back now. Officer Evan realized Terry wasn't in the car, but he found Officer Mill tied up inside. Officer Jessica quickly alerted the team, and they returned to the police station. Greedy for the money, Sandy rushed to get it. Terry was loading weapons from the armory. He shot Sandy with beanbag rounds, not real bullets. Officer Jessica appeared, and Terry cooperated since she was a friend. Summer suggested Terry trust Jessica with the memory card and told her to release them. Terry took Sandy's weapons but was confronted by Sandy's men outside. He handed Jessica a loaded gun for backup. Jessica suggested they go outside to avoid a shootout, but Officer Steve appeared and crushed the memory cards underfoot. He revealed he had taken down Summer and threatened to shoot Terry with no fear of punishment. Officer Evan realized the mistakes in their plan and decided to protect Terry. Tensions rose as everyone pointed their guns at each other. Sandy shot Evan in the leg and took his weapon. Terry looked at Jessica, who lowered her gun to give him a chance to escape with Evan. The two found cover behind a car and threw smoke grenades to hide. Evan told Terry to turn on the dash cam, as the recordings would stream live in 3 minutes. Terry fought off the officers one by one, without killing them. Eventually, he confronted Steve and decided to take revenge for being shot. Terry got into Steve's car, where Summer was lying, and turned on the dash cam. He then drove to rescue Evan, pulling him out of the station while Steve tried to block their way. Summer quickly pushed Steve aside, giving them a chance to escape. Sandy and his crew chased them, but Jessica crashed into Sandy's car to help Terry. The group reached the hospital, where they rushed Summer and Evan into the emergency room. Terry retrieved the storage device from the car's dash cam and kept it as evidence to expose Sandy. The film ends with Terry holding the key evidence to bring down the corrupt police chief.